Today, I'm going to be simulating a battle royale between every single ideology in the political compass, from Stalinism to anarcho-communism to Fordism to anarcho-capitalism, and just everything in between. So every single political ideology, I guess, is on here. I didn't make the map, but this is kind of interesting, and this will officially pick what you should do for political ideology. You need to pick from this video specifically for the rest of your life. You need to follow it exactly as it says here. So libertarian Marxism, you can't be that. Okay, but there's kind of a good amount of stuff going on. Another one goes down, right-wing populism, rest in peace. Oh, another one goes on, gift economy. I don't even know what a gift economy is, but anarcho-individualism looks pretty good at the moment. A lot's going down, and they just have crazy names, but I'd say, to me, the ones that I would expect to win is going to be someone that blobs up in the corner. So right now, not really any of them are blobbed up in the corner, but I'd say like stuff like minarchism or like anarcho-individualism, where you're just in a corner so you don't have to fight against as many people as everyone else. Titoism goes down. Libertarian socialism also goes down. I mean, a lot of these are just going to immediately go down because there are so many different nations. So, I mean, technocracy goes down as well. I think longism is the first one to take down 2 different nations, but I could be wrong on that. But either way, some of these nations are starting to blob up a little bit, but I don't really see any like big front runner at the beginning. Anarcho-individualism is about to take down someone potentially that already took down another nation. Paleo-libertarianism, just crazy words out here. Police statism. Oh, police statism? I don't... There's just words that I'm learning now from this right here. And anarcho-individualism. This is a long fight right here. Helvetic model. This is kind of cool. They've kind of been doing well. Conservative socialism. Interesting. But yeah, I think one of these right here could definitely pull off a lot. But anarcho-individualism, they do seem to be the biggest nation in the entire world by a lot. And they look to be doing pretty well. I mean, you have like basically 4 different pieces of land here, and you're kind of in a corner. So I feel like that's probably the best look out of anyone else. You also don't really want to be like super long and skinny. You rather like blob up like a square, because you're gonna have less people to fight against, versus like being super long and skinny where you're gonna have a lot of people on your borders. But there's a ton of people going down. Marxism-Leninism is looking really good. Also, this thing that a certain mustache man was really into is also looking to be doing pretty well against another thing the mustache man was into, National Socialism. But yeah, I don't know. This is just so weird to me. The Helvetic model is going down to liberal conservatism. These are things that no one has ever said before. Gaddafism. Is that Mohammed Gaddafi? I don't know. There's so many weird things on here, and I literally don't know where to start. But Marxism-Leninism, I think they will do extremely well. I just think they're in a good spot here. One nation conservatism looks solid in the middle. Anarcho-individualism, if they get another win here, they look to be in clearly the best spot. But I mean, I think whoever wins out of Marxism-Leninism and Gaddafism is definitely the leader here, just because they're in a corner with a good amount of land already. So I mean, I'd say like they're definitely in the lead, but it could really go to anyone. Like, of course, at this stage when there still is like almost 100 nations left, and there are like some weird blob ones like liberal conservatism, who has beat 4 other nations, but they look like this. So I can tell you there's almost no way I see them winning, but I mean, I guess they still could. I guess anyone could still win at this point, but I just feel like they're in such a weird area, and as they conquer their 5th nation right now, they're going to be in even a weirder like look, because they just have a lot of land in weird areas, and they have a ton of neighbors on their borders, way more than I would really want at this point. You just want to stay in a corner and just chill out for a bit. Even though they are winning almost every single war they're in, like they look really good. Their their military, I guess you'd call it in this game, looks great, but I just don't see any way they win this. I think there is just some, like, what is the Steiner Valentinism school? I think, yeah, the stuff in the corners still looks to be doing solid. Like, Stalinism is still around, anarcho-communism is still around, whatever was down here is down, but like the majority of the ones in the corners still look good, and liberal conservatism is clearly the biggest nation here, and they still seem to be winning a lot of these wars. But again, they're just in a terrible position when they're against so many different nations on their borders. And while they do probably have the most land, I mean, I can see they easily have the most land. Gaddafism is next. They just don't look to be in the greatest spot. But I mean, yeah, I'm kind of doubting them extremely early. I would think, to me, whoever wins out of these four nations is going to be a really, really strong one, especially because there are just a couple big nations on their borders versus like here, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, there's not really any big ones in these corners besides like liberal conservatism, but liberal conservatism is more in the middle versus the outside. But I guess if they can just start moving outside and take over monarchism, I mean, as they take out one of the other ones, yeah, if they can get to a corner, which it really looks like liberal conservatism is going to do, wow. They just need to take down a little bit more. Marxism, Leninism finally takes down the corner, and they beat out Stalinism. And it does look pretty good. I mean, I'd say right now, in first place easily is the liberal conservatism, then Luxembourgism, then probably Marxism, Leninism. These words are way too difficult to pronounce, but I mean, at this point, I would say I want someone in the middle to win. I don't think there's any way like someone like social liberalism could win this, just because they're going to be sandwiched by all these other big nations that are going to start getting bigger and bigger on the outside. But if someone in the middle does win, I will be extremely surprised. I mean, I just don't see any way that could happen. But I mean, I'm rooting for it at this point. Christian democracy, you got to go down. I don't want to see any Christian democracy in the world ever. But the liberal conservatism, wow, these guys are really going off. Yeah, they started all the way up here in the middle, basically, and they've just fought their way into a corner, taking over the most land. And they look to be in a pretty good position as long as they just solidify their hold on this sector. Like, if they just take out these smaller nations, I feel like they're going to be in a really, really, really good spot to just start snowballing and rolling over the rest of this map. But I would say still Marxism, Leninism is in the best spot, just because there's only two nations that are surrounding them. If they just beat one of those nations, they can just slowly start rolling instead of fighting against all these other ones like everyone else. Like, yeah, if you have less neighbors, you're going to be doing better just because they're less likely to fight you. So Marxism, Leninism is my favorite at this point, but I mean, there still is a ton of time left, and there still are a ton of nations left as well. I think there's still over 50 at this point. So let's speed up a little bit to get some people down, like Ho Chi Minh Thought. Hopefully Ho Chi Minh Thought doesn't win this entire thing. That's just such a funny name to win it all. But I really want liberal conservatism to just start snowballing. I was hating on you at the beginning, but I think if you just take over those nations from your east, just take over a little bit more land, spread a little bit more, and you will be looking extremely good. Marxism, Leninism does look amazing in that corner, though. Social corporatism looks pretty solid as well, and liberal socialism. And as Marxism, Leninism takes down Jake, I don't know what to say, Jacobinism, they look to be in a really good spot as well. There's a lot of people in good spots. This top right corner is just absolutely so much worse than every other corner because there's like basically no blobbing, and they're all still pretty small states, and I just kind of want stuff to start blobbing. I mean, social Darwinism is looking pretty good, but everything else doesn't look as good as the other corners, and a lot of people are going down. The third way is just right in the middle, looking beautiful. Liberal conservatism still looking amazing, and they're still on top. Social Darwinism is very close to where they're at, and social Darwinism is just starting to snowball as well. Distributionist libertarianism looking solid in the middle. Longism looking solid at the top. Marxism, Leninism. I'm telling you, they are, to me, still the top nation here, just because they're still in an amazing spot when everyone else is just going to continue to fight and fight and fight. And the liberal conservatism, they just haven't done any better in the last couple years we've simulated. They've taken out maybe one nation in that time, but they really haven't grown the way they should be growing. And I mean, they do now. They do look pretty good now, but I don't know. I still feel like they're in a weird spot because they're just touching a lot of big nations here. It's just like a lot of big nations you don't really want to be against. But now I start talking down on them, they start doing good. I start talking good on them, and they start doing bad. That is just how it goes, and they look really good. They're about to take out a whole nother nation, it looks like, almost on the very edge of it, but they clearly are back in first place. I mean, clearly they have the most land now, but reformist Marxism is kind of coming up as well. Like, look at how big they are, and they're just on a nice little corners, or like not corner, but I'm saying a side. So they're in just a great spot, in my opinion. I mean, I still think Marxism, Leninism is in the best spot, but I mean, it could go anyway. What is this? Ordo-liberalism? Interesting. They're about to take down national conservatism. Rest in peace to national conservatism. But I don't know. Social Darwinism to me still looks pretty good. And like Marxism, Leninism, but it literally could be anyone at this point. It is kind of interesting that someone like Fordism really has stayed in their original spot the entire game and hasn't really moved that far from there. Like, now they're starting to push outside of their original position, but they were kind of just staying in the same area for so long, and now they're just starting to move, which is really interesting. And I think they are a puppet. Yeah, they are a puppet of social Darwinism, but I'm saying the fact that they're basically the only nation in this entire game that stayed in their original spot, like the only ideology that stayed in their original ideology location, is pretty interesting. But we have the third way revolting. We just have a lot of revolts here, but I still think liberal conservatism might be able to pull this one out. I mean, I still think they're the biggest nation, barely, versus reformist Marxism, but they're in to me, a better spot than reformist Marxism. Just only having like a couple, no, they still have a lot of neighbors, but I just feel like their corner is a little bit more solidified than someone else, and they just took down Austro-libertarianism. I don't know what that is, and monarcho-liberalism also seems to be going down, so they just eliminated basically two of their neighbors without doing anything. Like, they just simply invaded one of them, immediately going down, and the other one got taken down by another one of their friends. So it looks like liberal conservatism is just starting to somehow come out with some very lucky scenarios where they don't really have to fight against their opponents, and just they fight against each other, and they start, I mean, I guess left Rothbardism is like snowballing in its own way, but it's still way smaller than liberal conservatism. So I still think liberal conservatism has the upper edge here. There's a bunch of stuff going down in the west corner, but I don't really care about reformist Marxism that much. Police statism versus social Darwinism, that's kind of an interesting battle as well. We're going to speed it up a little bit just to get some stuff going. Anarcho-individualism looks to be going down. Oh, they do survive for a little longer. Liberal socialism is back, not looking that amazing. And liberal conservatism doesn't look that strong at the moment, so they're just going to have to bide their time and just hope that they continue to start like picking up extra land. You do have longism that doesn't look good at all. Liberal conservatism also doesn't look good at all. They just started getting snowballed by social Darwinism, but not that many fights going down. Marxism, Leninism is still on the map somehow. They haven't done anything. They really haven't moved at all in a while and haven't pushed on anyone. So I'd like to see that happen, just because I did expect them to be one of the stronger nations. Anarcho-individualism does go down. Longism is starting to push back against everyone. They take down police statism, and social corporatism is also getting snowballed. Ordo-liberalism is also getting attacked by social Darwinism. So we basically just got two nations taken down in between these two guys. Liberal conservatism does not look good either. Wow. They get taken down basically by social Darwinism. So there only is, I'd say right now, 4 nations that can win. 1, 2, 3, 4, but everyone else still technically has a chance. But I mean, there's only 8 nations left. So it really is one of these 4. It's just going to be a continued fight between them. I could see Longism also having an okay chance, but it really is between Marxism, Leninism, social Darwinism, left Rothbardism, and reformed Marxism. And of course, I'm rooting for Marxism, Leninism because I had my eye out on them at the very beginning of the game. I'd say like reformed Marxism would be my second one. Then the other 2, just because they were, didn't do that well for that long. I'd rather have the communists win. Come on, guys. But I don't know. I really think social Darwinism has the upper hand here, but they are against the most nations. Like, they do have 3 nations on their borders, and they're all kind of on one side, so it could be kind of tough, but I don't know. I definitely see them as the leader right now. I don't know how much is really going to start moving. Well, there's Marxism, Leninism, basically going down the drain. What I will do if there really isn't any, okay, there's a death here between Marxism, Leninism, rest in peace, and reform Marxism also basically just died as well. So there's still technically, I'd say, it's like 4 big powers here between anarcho-communism, Longism, social Darwinism, and left Rothbardism. But the major powers between Marxism, Leninism, and reformist Marxism both got taken down, which is just really funny to me. And I don't know, it just seems like it's just swinging back and forth. The power dynamic is going from like a nation's taking out another nation, and then that nation's getting taken out by a different nation. And they're all just like slowly morphing and shifting into powers. And Marxism, Leninism looks to finally basically go down. And anarcho-communism also seems to be basically out of the game at this point. Left Rothbardism is seemingly the winner here. I mean, we'll have to see, because social Darwinism is still making a big push here. But I don't know. This is just so weird because everyone seems to just switch in power, where it's like they're at one point they're like the top nation in the entire world, and then at the next point they're like super not powerful at all. But now it is basically back down to 3 nations, and they were 3 out of the 4 nations that I was praising before. So I think I was kind of right about that one. And reformist Marxism does look to be taking down social Darwinism and left Rothbardism. What I'm going to do right here, I mean, I kind of have to do it. Actions, fight to death. You guys are just going to fight to death each other. All of your nations. And we're going to see who comes out on top. And it looks like it's going to be left Rothbardism. I mean, I don't think anyone else has any money. I think left Rothbardism has, to me, officially won this, but we will see. I mean, they just have to take down reformist Marxism. Oh, they're their puppet. So what I do is I do a little annex, and I do a little annex over here. And I mean, those are their puppets, so it makes a lot of sense. So left Rothbardism is the political ideology that you have to follow for the rest of your life. This is what left Rothbardism means, and you have to follow it for the rest of your life, and you can't switch anymore because they won this entire political ideology battle royale.